Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Young Executive Program of the 21st Hong Kong Forum, co-organized by the Federation of Hong Kong Business Associations Worldwide and the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. The YEP is a dedicated session at the Hong Kong Forum that aims to foster cooperation and networking of the worldwide young members of the Federation and the local young entrepreneurs in Hong Kong. In addition, to encourage startup development and create synergy with the Young Executive Program, the Excellent Startup Awards has been conducted this year with 6 winners from technology and innovative sectors. It is to recognize the outstanding achievements of the member associates who have developed their startup business through Hong Kong or with business links with Hong Kong. The winners' sharing and stories were uploaded on the Federation website. Please check out the link at chat or scan the QR code to learn about their outstanding achievements. Special thanks to the Awards Committee Chairman, Mr. Dennis Lee from the US, and Awards Committee members, Mr. Laszlo Bacani from Hungary, Ms. Lucinda Chen from Australia, Mr. Dixon Chiu from Malaysia, and Mr. Henry Yu from the US for their contributions throughout the year. We're also glad to have Hong Kong Cyberport as YEP's strategic partner, as well as a number of chambers and associations as our supporting organizations as shown on the screen. Today's program is equipped with simultaneous interpretation for Japanese. You may tune the language in your Zoom meeting if needed. Also, there will be Q&A sessions after the speaker's presentation. If you have any questions for our speakers, please submit it in the online Q&A system by clicking the Q&A button. Our staff will submit your questions to the moderator. In addition, we will have a live networking session at the end of today's program. Please feel free to join us and connect with other fellow participants. If you are not free to join the live networking, members of the Federation would be able to connect with other participants by using our one-to-one networking function on the Federation website. If you have any queries, our colleagues staying online at the Q&A system would be happy to give a helping hand. Thank you for your attention. Entitled Innovations and Technologies, the Key for Capturing GBA Opportunities, a panel of 3 young entrepreneurs of YEP will share their insights and stories on how businesses could embrace innovations and technologies in order to grasp business opportunities brought by the development of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area. And they are Mr. James Falk, founder of Kias Automation Technology, Mr. Abraham Lam, CEO of Mega Automation Limited, and Ms. Winnie Lee, co-founder of Spreadit. To facilitate today's discussion, we're pleased to have Mr. Eric Chan, Chief Public Mission Officer from the Hong Kong Cyberport Management Company Limited, to chair the session. Let's give our speakers and moderator a big round of applause. Eric, please.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. So I think today's topic is very, very relevant because people are talking about GBA all the times. And I understand that all of you have actually quite a lot of experience in expanding into the GBA regions, right? So let's get straight, to the point, because I was told that we're going to have a short, kind of a chit chat, but then we're going to leave most of the time, for more interactions for the Q&A sessions. Okay. So first of all, I would like each one of you to probably give us a summary of your experience, in like the challenges and opportunities for operating a startup in Hong Kong, and also how do you also use the startup to capture the GB opportunities. Could I start with James, please, first?
Okay, thank you very much, Eric, and thank you, MC. Hi, everybody. My name is James Falk, and I am the founder of the Kias Automation Group. Good afternoon, everyone. So there are a lot of academic researchers about industrial development in Asia, especially in China, that right now automation enhancement is having a huge demand. Why? First of all, the rise of new income method. Think about it, new media, right, and e-commerce. That's why a lot of youngsters, especially the 80s or 90s or the one after 2000, they are kind of reluctant to work in a factory, and that raised the demand of ours. Secondly, is the pandemic. A lot of factories, they are, as I try to share with Eric before the forum, a lot of factories are thinking of to enhance their automation level and shorten their plan for such. And that's why there's a huge demand for automation, basically replacing human labor resources by using machines or robots. I have found this Kia's automation group 2 years ago with this gentleman. His name is Frederick Kolak, and special thanks to TDC, gave me a chance to do this interview before. Our head is cut a little bit, but later on, I'm sure we are going to have a chance to meet Mr. Frederick. Fred is a German, 33 years experience in automation, especially in the field of surface finishing. That's why we are developing such a R&D device in China. Basically, is using this device for metal pieces to do surface finishing. Let's give you a heads up about what we are doing. By the way, this is the factory of ours in Guangzhou. So basically, we do the design, and then I send to my JV partner, which is called the XR Automation, to build the system of ours. The relationship is like Apple and Foxconn, something like that, actually. So give you a heads up about what we are doing. So this is an engine block of a car, okay? And then what we do is we do surface finishing to make it more smooth, and then we design the whole thing with all the programming. And this is basically what our company is doing so far. These are some of our international partners in the world, like Crenadon from Germany, Foodmac from Australia, and Dorabot from China, so that I can serve many different type of services to my customer. Beside surface finishing automation, I can do intelligent warehouse and logistic, laser welding for automobiles, and etc. Let's go to this interesting topic. My personal view about establishing a business in the GBA. I think the main challenges are three things. First of all, is definitely language. I think a lot of audience right now, you may not speak fluent Mandarin. Actually, I don't speak fluent Mandarin too. And that's why I am cooperating with my partners in China to have a better communication. And that can be easy tackle. The next thing I think is a challenge is the understanding about the legal and the accounting system. It's very different from Hong Kong, and I think it's also very different in your country, right? Yes, right? So, but this can easily be tackled. Why? Because you can find some professional parties like accounting and lawyers can definitely help you to get through that. But the last thing I think is a really great challenge is about culture. Cultural shock. How you can deal with it, my key point is do not go to a place, have a few business meeting, and leave. Stay there, have some fun, make some friends, know about the history. Because culture is derived from history, learn about the local history of that place. Then you know about the culture. Then you know about the habit of the people over there. And then, again, make some friends, have some fun, relax. Why so serious, right? And then, once you have local friends, then you can have the access to the local market and get a lot of local market information. Last but not least, I just want to quote my idol, my favorite martial arts master, Bruce Lee, what he always said: be water, be flexible, be patient, learn, listen, and apply. And I think this is the sharing of mine, and I still have 5 seconds. Special thanks to TDC. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
And Abraham, I know that you have won a lot of awards, right, in the GBA regions. So maybe you also share your experience of how to actually manage to bring your company to the
All right.
GBA.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Eric, and thank you for the opportunities that for us to share about our startup journey. So I will try to use around 5 minutes to share my startup journey. I think it is the best way that I can share the exact experience that what we experienced from the startup from Hong Kong and then advance into the GBA. So I actually graduated from the Department of Computing, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. So I actually start my PhD study in around 2010. So at that time, I really want to apply my research study into the real world applications. So at that time, PolyU is actually promoting a lot of funding to support, the alumni, the students to have their startups. So we were awarded the Micro Fund at 2012. So the first thing is that we are nobody, at that moment. So you need to get the chance and grasp every opportunities to have to show up, even in media, even in different kinds of exhibitions. Just like I think some of you may doing the same thing as well. And then the next thing is that we need to set up, a lot of, just like TDC events, the electronic fairs, and then the Smart Bees, a lot of these kind of events, and then to tell that what actually our company, Mega Automation, is doing, and how we can help you to serve you better. And then the next part is that just like, Eric is also from Cyberport. So I've just, shared with him that we are actually one of the incubatees, in around 2013. So we were actually at that time, enrolled into the on-site incubation program. So actually we were supported by Cyberport as well, to gain the exposure in the market. And then the second thing is that we need to connect with the communities. So sometimes when you're doing some startup, I think it is a good way for you to communicate with your stakeholders, your clients, and all sorts of people in your communities. So sometimes sharing ideas is the first thing that I think every startup should do. So never be shy and never think that your ideas are really secret, because people always, I would like to share what they actually think, and they can improve your products and services as well. And then after 5 years study in my PhD in the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, so I started to, I want to apply the research, things into the projects. So that is why we, get a lot of research awards from the market, and then we apply doing technology transfer into our products. So we were also, gaining the traction from the market with the recognition from the wetland developers, and then as well as a lot of, projects with the Polytechnic University. And at the same time, if you still remember, around 2015, at that time, the Hong Kong government actually promote a lot of startups, which will maybe they have startup with a search background to advance into the GBA market, especially Shanghai. So at that time, because we are working on the building automation, that is a smart building applications, we need to develop a lot of smart hardware. So as you can see that Hong Kong, you don't have factories for you to produce this kind of hardware, but actually we are just close to Shenzhen. Like everyone may know, Huaqiang, it is a good place with a lot of resources, what we call the upstream hardware, and then all the PCB, all the design and production as well. So that is the opportunities how we advanced into the Shanghai, the GBA, our first step into the market. And the startup atmosphere in GBA is everywhere you can find incubators that even sometimes you don't need to have to pay for the rent. If they accept your projects, they think you have the potential to scale up in a short period of time. They can help you to link up different governmental bodies, and then as well as a lot of incubators in China. And then again, you need to expose yourself, so you get to participate a lot of startup events, meeting VCs, meeting with the government officers. I will tell you why later. And then because what I can see is that there is a lot of mature VC network in China. So when you go to the GPA, I think you need a story just like us, because we have a good traction in Hong Kong, but actually we are looking for a greater market, and then we are looking for some upstream resources in China. So that is why we went into the GBA. And then the culture and business development are actually totally different, unlike in Hong Kong. So normally when you are in Hong Kong, how you can acquire the information from the government, you will simply log from the website. But to be honest, in China, you need to keep an eye on a lot of the seminars and WeChat group. They actually announce the latest news in the group instead of the website. And sometimes because of the policies, they may change sharply after a period of time. So you need to keep up-to-date information from this kind of locations. So one point to highlight is about the setup of your company, because different cities and then different provinces, they may have different startup, support. So where you register your companies is actually very important to, have the funding support from different local government. And then doing startup in Shanghai is actually not a bad thing, and as well as because I'm living in Yunlong, so every day I actually spend around 1 hour and then into Shanghai, and then we always, sometimes we have governments and then the business chambers from Hong Kong to visit us in Shanghai. So it is also a good opportunity not just to meet with the Chinese officers, but also, from people in Hong Kong. And then there's a lot of huge talents pool. So you can just, I think China is a good place. They have adopted a lot of high-tech applications. So for example, I can use a mobile app and then to post my, for the opening. And then just one afternoon, we can receive more than hundreds of the talents for the application and the candidates. So there's a lot of market opportunities, but I'm not going to highlight. So you can have a look on these kind of opportunities and challenges. And then our role in GBA, I think just like a football team, you have, goalkeeper, you have defender, forwarder, and then midfielder. So I think you need to define your role in the GBA market, whether you are setting up your headquarters like us in Hong Kong, and then you have your defenders, that is your factory, storage in China, or every cities in the GBA. So because of the time limit, I'm not going to tell you so much, but in the future, I think we can share more about this kind of things. So again, I think the next thing is that we want to advance into the China market, and then we can set up our sales team and then looking for the collaboration with TDC and Cyberport as well in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Abraham. And Winnie, you're in the business of building a network of micro-influencer. How does that work in GBA?
Right. So, hello everyone. So again, thank you for the opportunity so that I can share a little bit more about especially influencer marketing, from Hong Kong, and especially if you want to go to the China market, how do you actually go into the consumer site, with influencer marketing. So let me introduce a little bit of Spread Its background. So we are actually established 4 years ago, and then we are mainly doing we started with micro-influencer marketing. So basically, just imagine that you have a product that you want to get to the customers, and then we'll get 100 or 200 people to do some posting on Instagram and also on Facebook. But then after a few years, working with different brands, we see that there is a huge opportunity that the brands actually want to attract the Chinese tourists to buy their products from Hong Kong. And I believe that the audience here, listening to our sharing, definitely want to know how to get the Chinese customers to access and also purchase their products, right? So we also support Chinese KOLs with the very popular Chinese social media network WeChat, Xiaohongshu, and TikTok. And we also support with different marketing campaigns that is collaborate with the most popular wallet or payment method in China, which is Alipay and also WeChat Pay. So here are some of the brands that we have been working for over the past years. So I don't go into that. So let me talk a little bit more about the GBA potential. So because we have been working with a lot of Hong Kong local brands, and then we see that actually there are a lot of brands that they want to capture the Chinese tourists and also the Chinese market. So here are some solutions that we think will be most helpful to the brands, including KOL management, social media management, travel payment app collaboration, programmatic ads on WeChat, programmatic ads, and also Baidu search, etc. So what do the brands actually do to attract the customers? So here are some examples. So for example, Lee Gardens is actually one of the very most popular shopping malls in Hong Kong. And then whenever there's those Labor Day or a Christmas holiday or a New Year holiday, when the people flood in, how do you get the people know about, there are lots of promotions happening in my mall? It's actually through all the different media channels channels. It's not just one, but like you do everything that you can to reach your Chinese customers. So including the article writing on WeChat, 小红书 KOLs, and also like Douyin in China. So basically, this is how you try to get the people to know about you. And then if there's an interesting like another sector that is like insurance sector. So what they do is that probably there are lots of regulations happening in China, and then they cannot directly reach out or like pitch their customer. So what they can do is actually to have some relevant articles or information that is related to health or related to the financial planning or related to like some of the issues that they will face in life, and then get the customer actually know about the brand. So that here are some strategies that like if you want to reach your Chinese customers, that you may be think of like how you can like reach out to them through different kind of social media platforms. So basically, I think like recently over all the news, there are only a few keywords. So it's like the US election, there's like COVID, there's like China US relationship, etc. So what will be the challenge and opportunities here? So I think like given the COVID situation that we are seeing now, so one of the biggest opportunity that the retail brands or like your brand that can probably capture is that how you can ship or you can like get your product into the China market. So if you're able to actually establish or like collaborate with vendors that are actually being able to like having a very efficient cost and also like structure to get your product to ship into the market, and then you get a good vendor that can actually like list your product on the most popular e-commerce site and let your ranking of the products to be seen by the customers, then it will be your opportunity to actually reach out to the Chinese customers especially in a great big GBA. So this is my sharing, and like hopefully like after like some research and also understanding of the Chinese market, you will know how to get your product be seen by the Chinese customers.
Thank you, Winnie. So let's get started with more interactions with the floor, shall we? So I've actually got a questions. It seems that some of our audiences are already ready to get set and go. The GBA. So they wanted some advices on what is the most needed resources and support that would help you kind of expand into the GBA from your experience.
Lady first, maybe.
Okay, Queenie. What a gentleman.
Okay, I think I think just now James actually mentioned a very good point, that is you have to know about the culture, right? So I think getting a local partner that you trust in China is a very essential point that you can get into the Chinese market, because like even for me like living in Hong Kong, I cannot say that I am like 100% understanding the cultural difference between Hong Kong and also like GBA. So it is very important to get someone that know the language, like what the terms, what the hot terms, keywords, buzzwords that they usually use in China, and also like know about the market and also know about the strategy.
Thank you.
So maybe I think most importantly is the preparedness of your own psychology. That's very important, because first of all you need to really understand what is your own strength. Is it really the demand in the Greater Bay Area or some other place in the world? First of all, you need to know about that, and then you really need to understand the market. Do some homework. As I just want to repeat that. I think very important is the time that you need to be prepared to spend to know about the market. If you fail to prepare, then you prepare to fail. As simple as that. That's what I think.
My recommendation will be that you need to link up with some VCs and then some incubator networks in the GBA areas, because sometimes even my friends, sometimes they want to set up a company in Shenzhen. They find it very, very difficult, and they don't know where to apply. They don't know about the procedures. So first of all, I think even for the startup nature, for example, sometimes like us, we need a lot of hardware, upstream resources, and what we are looking for some expansion on the market and then the sales. So I think different kind of startups, they may have different kind of requirements. So the best thing is that to communicate with the people that they are expertise in the market. So my recommendation would be to connect with the VCs, the incubators, and then it is at least you have a landing place for your company as well.
And maybe just from the perspective of the Cyberport community, we have recently actually done a survey of those startups that have interest to go into GBA, and they were telling us that they think there are three things they want more support, to help them to expand. One is obviously you already mentioned funding, right? To find the investors in the GBA areas that would be interested in the project. And second is actually find a lending partner that could help them reach the market, because GBA is the most attractive thing is the market, because it's 10 times the population of Hong Kong, right? Of over 70 million people. So they want people that could have, like what we are doing in Hong Kong, we introduce them to potential customers so that they get real business and real revenue to prove the business case, right? And the third thing that they said that is really talent. When they grow, when they want to scale, they need more talents to join the team, and they would actually want partners to help them, find those talents. Okay, so I've got questions directed to James and Abraham. It says, you have talked about the cultural shocks in GBA and how you need to prepare. Being a Hong Kongers, you already kind of experienced this kind of shock. What happened? Maybe this is from our overseas friends. Will it be even more challenging for overseas young professionals or entrepreneurs who want to get into the GBA? Because we are actually attracting a lot of overseas companies to come to Hong Kong as a landing pad to expand further to the GBA and neighboring countries. So what's your feel? I mean, Winnie, you could also chip in. Right?
Okay, maybe this time I started first. Wow, it's a big question for me. Why? Because I study in Canada like for 10 years, and then I go back to work, go back to Hong Kong to work, and then right now I am cooperating with some Europeans because our CEO is a British and my CTO is a German. So in order for to dealing with that, you really need to be patient, okay? Because the Chinese way of the culture is so much different from the international market. The only key is make local friends, find local partners, and this will save you a lot of the trouble. No other way. Be patient, make some friends.
My answer to that will be actually Hong Kong is also one of the GBA cities. So if this friend is from overseas and he is not familiarized with the government policies in China, I think they may think about to land in Hong Kong first, because I think like James mentioned about you can find a local partner in Hong Kong, and then because Hong Kong people, they are more familiarized with the China market, and that as well as because I think they can join together to advance into the GBA large cities in the mainland. Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. For any overseas friends out there who wants to come to this part of the world, actually Hong Kong is one of the best place for you to land, and you actually fit in, very well, because Hong Kong is so international, and through Hong Kong you get to learn more about the GBA and the culture, right? Then you can expand into the GBA areas with more confidence, right? Right. So let me check. All right. Wow, many questions. That's for Winnie, so it's a fair. So there's do the consumers prefer local or overseas brands? How can an overseas brand compete with local brands in your experience?
This is a very interesting question. So I believe for the Chinese customers or even like not only the Chinese customer, I think for worldwide we are always interested in the brands from overseas. So I think like how do you position your branding and also your product pricing after doing a very deep market research will be essential. So I would suggest that it depends on which kind of products that you are, because electronics or fashion or even for food and beverage, different product has different strategy and also different ways to actually tap into the market and differentiate themselves from the Chinese market. And then you have to look for the pain point, what's your advantage compared to the local brands, and how you can not only to win over the local brands but also to adapt to the local culture will be very essential, so that they will feel that, oh, this is something fresh, this is something that they're not able to find locally. And even there's even your product is actually maybe pricing more expensive than the local brands, but the consumers will feel that, oh, because there's this differentiation, and then I'm willing to pay for that. So I think it the question will need the owner and also the yourself to understand your advantage and also your competitiveness, where is it, and also how do it do the differentiation to answer it well.
Thank you, Winnie. So I guess people are really ready to go, so they want really practical tips. So we mentioned about finding the right partners in GBA. So one of the audience asked, how do you find a trustworthy partner? Any tips or stories that you could share?
Yeah, I'll start it first. Okay, let me share my personal experience. Once again, our company, we help factories to do automation enhancement, right? So the first step I have done is approach the related government department, which is the Gongxinbu, which is the Industrial Information Department of China. I understand their policies hardly, and then I explore the market and ask this department to introduce certain business association for me. So through this Industrial Information Department, I find the local hardware associations of that area. And then I have approached over 100 factories in that few areas through the business associations. That's how I locate my market and collect my market information. Actually, if your business idea is really create certain demand for the local government, they are quite willing to give you a hand to promote your business. Actually, that's from my personal experience. And how you find a partner? Well, God leads the way. Make friends, and then you will find out how do you find your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your wife or husband, right? Same question, I think. Agree? I think agree, right? Thank you.
So I guess it takes a few dating events before you confirm it's the right partner or not, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Abraham?
Let me try to sharpen the question, not to business partner, but the partners that locally in the GBA cities, because I think finding business partner, that can be and spend another afternoon that you can share about our staff stories. I would say if you want to land into the GBA cities and then you would like to have some local partners, the first thing is that you don't necessarily set up a company and then giving out your shares with those partners. I think first of all you can just collaborate with them in terms of projects, and then at that time you can study about their team formation, whether they are really the one you are looking for, and then really they can support your landing into the GBA cities as well. And the second thing is that sometimes sometimes you can have some joint venture company instead of set up a company and then when you lose and then the whole company will collapse. So I think it is about the business skill set, and then sometimes again the incubators, the VCs, I think a lot of friends, they will tell you this kind of stories. So my short answer will be actually there's kind of different forms of team formation. So it depends, and then you can wait and see, and then you can have your experience to sense whether this kind of partners is reliable and trustful.
Right, totally agree. So I believe that if you're really new to the GBA area, then look for some VC, and also like some incubators will definitely be helpful. And then the other thing important is to get some referrals. Just keep reaching out to your friends who actually have been to Chinese or have any friends in China, and then just keep looking for friends referring friends. Because although the chain may be seeming long, but then somehow after you get some referrals and then you talk to the person, and then she or he may refer you to another person, and slowly you might be able to talk to someone who has a similar interest to you. And also definitely join forums like this. So basically you are able to meet the people who are having similar interests here, and also maybe some speakers or what we are doing might be relevant to your business, and then you can always reach out to us, and then we can talk about whether there are any chance that we can collaborate or that we can help you to get into the GBA.
So it seems that we also have in the audience some friends who hasn't started their entrepreneurial journey, but they are very much interested. So they want to ask, all of you, where did your inspiration come from when you first started your business? And then, if for anyone brand new, to this startup environment, how do you find a new role and become involved, so that in one day they could have their own startup?
Okay. Again, my personal own story. Before, I was working in China in a tech firm as a CEO, and then that company got 3 different subsidiaries. One is environmental, the other is new energy, and then the last subsidiary of theirs is industrial robotics. After I being involved in that company for a few years, I know there's a huge demand about the automation enhancement in China. And then particularly one specific department of that industrial robotic company, which is doing tailor-made projects for the factories to replace the human labor using robots to rebuild the production line for them. That specific department is making quite a good fortune. That's why I have talked to my integrated friends all around the world, Japanese friends, Korean buddies, German, and then my friend, Mr. Frederick Kolek. He said, hey, maybe it's a good idea for you to give it a try to set up a company too. And then I talked to the previous boss of mine, and then I asked him, hey, would you like to set up a specific company doing such? And then he said, it's a good idea. Let's think about it. Then I started my own company. So this is my story. First of all, you really need to have the market, operating team, and then the next thing is funding. And then that will be my role starting from day 1 till up until this second. I've been meeting a lot of investors all around. But what I want to say is, know the market, find the right partners to deal with this battle with you, and then you find those two, you're ready to go. Thank you.
Well, I would say, so for the startup, I think, do you find your value into the market? Because I think startup, you need to solve a real problems, and then the market will tell you the truth. For me, because I'm doing, I was doing research in computing doing my startup. At that time, because I love research, but I also love to apply my research work into the real world applications. So I'm eager to look for opportunities to do these kind of things. So at that time, just like James mentioned, I look for the funding opportunities. So luckily, we got into the PolyU microfund and as well as the incubation program of the Cyberport. But at least you need to tell about the story, just like I mentioned. So what kind of problems that you are solving? So for me, we are working on the building, domain. So there's a lots of legacy system that controlling the HVAC lighting, escalator, pumping, all sorts of system. But when you talk about energy saving, when you talk about smart building, different vendors, they don't talk with each other. So that is, I see the opportunities, how we can integrate and then build up applications on top of our system. So that is how we start our journey. So I think for the startup as well, you need to have the proven from the market. You should provide a value to your clients and then the markets. And then the only thing is that how you start and where you start, I think.
Definitely agree. So basically, I think there are two type of entrepreneurs. One is that like James, like he's very experienced in his industry, and then he knows what's the pain point that is like existing in that industry, and probably there's a potential and opportunity for that. And then the other type will be you really just want to be an entrepreneur, but you don't know where to start from. Then I will actually recommend you to just like pay really huge attention to what's happening around you every single day, like be like paying like attention to all the problems that you face, and then you feel discomfortable or you feel annoyed by that problem, and every time you feel like annoyed or bothered with this kind of problems, that might be some opportunities that you can look for.
Thank you. So we've got a very relevant questions about protecting intellectual property. So have you any experience to share about how you do that and make sure no one copies all the great innovations coming from your company?
That's very important, especially I think for three of us, because we are highly related to technologies. We have done many different type of tailor-made projects, and every single tailor-made projects will come along with an IP. So how we deal with that? Basically, we find a specific type of lawyer to deal with that for us. And I think right now, the penalty for such in China is very, very, very serious right now. And I can tell you that it is the very right moment for you to bring your technology to the GBA right now. Because right now, basically, the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government, they are setting up certain type of joint policies about this type of protecting IP. I think the best way for you is you come to Hong Kong or you find a way or connecting with TDC. I'm sure they are going to give you a lot of advices about that. But I just want to tell you that there are certain type of joint policy right now is being developed, especially in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong's position in this technology thing is the basket for technology. I can tell you that. So since I'm not a IP lawyer, I'm just a user, and I use it every day. I can tell you that it is the right moment for doing so. Hopefully, you'll accept my sharing as such. Thank you.
Well, for us, I think to be honest, I think IP is not the most important thing for us, in the initial period of time. Because to be honest, I think sometimes people talk about a lot of IP, just like James mentioned. I think a lot of lawyers, they can do it for you. But what I think is that whether your products and your services can actually contribute to society and then the domain. So like us, we can look for a lot of new ideas and new models in the research paper as well. So, in nutshell, everyone is actually, talking about their ideas. And in China market especially, you can just copy the ideas and then you can build up another one in China, like in the Western country as well. I think it is the practice in China as well. But I think for us, as a startup, founder, I think sometimes the first thing is not to talk about the IP. It is to talk about whether you have a very sharp ideas to the market, and then the IP comes to the next. Of course, a special reminder is that I think the IP, the law, it is totally sometimes different between Hong Kong and China as well as in the Western European countries. But for us, I don't mean that you don't need to protect your IP, but sometimes I think IP is not the most important thing for you to apply and these kind of things to cater for at the very initial period of time. Thank you.
Yes, I think Abraham, you brought a very interesting point. I remember talking to friends, from Silicon Valley, and they actually told me that many of the founders, inventors, right, they go around and talk about their ideas to everybody, right? So you imagine, what if some people, think the idea is a good idea and then copy it? I think there's something like probably what Abraham was, kind of indicating is there's this inventor pride that even if you understand, my idea, you may not be able to do it like I could do it, right? So and then keep on innovating and be the the leaders in the pack probably is another way to protect IP. And then obviously when your IP is fully accepted in the market, you have to find lawyers to help you protect it, right? Winnie, anything else to share?
Yeah, definitely. Because our business, we have encountered some competitors that is like copying directly to what we are doing in the past. However, there are some advantage that we have. The first one is market leadership. So because we started the business like very early in Hong Kong, and then we have already built our very strong database and also the client base. So and also the influencer network base. So this is not something that easy to be copied, especially let's say the trust from the clients and also the client relationship. So make sure that if you're just starting something up, execution fast, and then make sure that you can capture the market fast, and then build your competitiveness, and then something that people cannot be like copying from themselves.
Yeah, very good point. So we have been talking a lot about finding the right partners, right? Especially to help us, expand into a new market like GBA. So there's a question about how do you think organizations like the Hong Kong Business Association worldwide, association and network like that could help in startup finding your collaboration partner. Yeah, any experience on that? I think you have mentioned before you actually find your partner through association.
Yes. I have been involved in a lot of many different type of business associations around China. Not just Hong Kong, but also a lot in China. For example, the Guangdong Youth Entrepreneur Associations. I think similar to what Eric just mentioned about the Silicon Friends, keep sharing ideas is very important. First of all, these type of associations, they have already group same type of people, entrepreneurs, people with the mentality to look for business, right? And then if you find the right associations, you should be able to meet a lot of people like you. And then you can easily find partners. Or you can test the water and see if your idea is really good or not. If you find there are certain indicators. First of all, if those people keeps texting you every day, or some people is referring projects to you, that means certain business model of yours is valuable. So I think if you have time, again, it's always about time. How much time you would like to put on this on the table right now, right? Talk to as much people as possible. Share more ideas with them. Anything with positive feedback, just keep it in your phone or keep it in your note, and then here comes your business model. I think. Thank you.
Well, I think joining different kinds of business chambers or societies actually to enriching your network as well. So, but for us, I think I didn't join a lot of this kind of community, but because I collaborate with this kind of like investors, they have this kind of solid network, and then they can support us to advance into different communities. So I think one thing is that because when you are going to join different kinds of chamber, I think different chamber they may have their different characteristic. Maybe they have a very good relationship with the China government, and maybe they will have a very good relationship with the different Asian cities as well. So I think for us in Hong Kong, I think Hong Kong is a very good place that we can provide a lot of professional services in terms of development, research, and then a lot of good products. But sometimes I think Hong Kong may not be competitive as like in other GBA cities about the technology adoption. So I think sometimes if you want to learn about your products, you want to like in the China market, when you talk about the B2C, it is really really a huge market. Then I think you will look for some business chambers that they have a really good relationship into the China. So I think different kinds of chamber may have different kind of opportunities that they may offer to you. But on the other hand, just like I mentioned, it is not a must, but sometimes you can look for different kinds of opportunities to get your network as well.
Right, and want to say is that like you have to clearly know that what kind of partners that you need. Like for example, do you need someone who is good at engineering, or do you need someone who has a certain industrial knowledge or whatever? Then you can identify where you can potentially find this kind of partner. And there are a few ways that I have ever like I heard my other entrepreneur friends mentioning that will be some good ways to find local partner as well. So one of the thing, especially for GBA, maybe is to take some course, maybe like a short course that you probably can know more about the local people, or especially let's say you want to find some like a specific industry knowledge people, you can take those courses and then identify those people. Or otherwise, if you actually have a like a financial background, or you are like interested to join some VC firm in China, it would be something very helpful to look for some networks as well.
And speaking from the perspective of Cyberport as an ecosystem builder, we strongly believe, in the power of networks. And hence, we have actually built a number of partner networks to help our startups. One of them is actually called the Cyberport Enterprise Network, where we help our startups to find enterprises that may implement their solutions to help the business to solve the pain points. And that's one way we believe that it's important to help them find the right customers and revenue. And the second network that we have is we have a Cyberport investor network that I already talked about, basically to map investor with the right investment appetite to relevant startups in our community. And the third network that we have is called the Cyberport Technology Network. Even though most of the companies in Cyberport are tech companies, but we've been telling them that you focus on your own innovations. But before your product could actually reach the market, there's so many things that you need to do before they're ready for market. So for those peripheral services, it's actually better off for you to find the right technologies readily available, from cloud services provided and others, so that you can actually shorten your time to market instead of doing everything yourself, inventing everything or reinventing the wheel yourself, right? So that's the reasons why we built this technology network. And to add to this collections of partner network, recently, many startups have been telling us that now we are in a scaled-up journey. We are ready to become the next unicorn. We definitely want more of our startup to become unicorns. And they said that we need a lot of support, like what you said, IP lawyers, financial consultants that would help them to look into their financial situation, support them in the M&A or even IPO, right? And many others consultancy services. So hence, we come up with the Cyberport Professional Services Network, where we introduce quality suppliers of professional services, to our startup through that network, and we welcome, all the professional services firms or individuals to come and be part of this initiative that we could help Hong Kong to become the leading innovative hub, for the regions. So I think we have around 5 minutes or 4 minutes to be exact. So maybe just before we leave, there's a question about many people would actually want to join, the entrepreneurship journey like you, but they already have a job now. So how do you actually take the big leap, into, quitting your job and go to this? And any further advices you might have to the young people out there who want to, become part of the entrepreneurship ecosystem as you are. Final words, please.
Well, I started the startup when I was studying university. So, well, for me, I would suggest whenever you want to start and whenever you have an idea, just execute it, try it, and see if there's any revenue come in. It is always the best, verification method to know whether you should just like go bad like on this idea, because if money comes and it means that what you're providing has a market value and people are willing to pay for it, then that's something that definitely you should go for it. But if that requires actually a huge investment upfront, then I suggest before you actually quit the job, you can talk to many people, especially investors or like industry people, to listen more about the like opinions on the idea. If they also think that, oh, this is great, you should just go ahead, then just go, don't think too much. And I believe that like after you quit the job, you can always find another one. So
Well, I think if it is a technology-driven startup, so actually you don't need to have to quit your full-time job at the first day, because compared in 2012, just like I started my first startup in Poly, I think there's lots of fundings, lots of incubations program, lots of supports from the government and then from the communities nowadays. So why don't you just make use this kind of resources? Just like I know that some kind of incubators, they can even provide a place for you to meet up with your business partners as well, and then they give you the salary as well. So I think sometimes it is talking about lots of opportunities, how you grasp the opportunities. But back to my first question is that you need to think about whether your product and services is actually contributing to the society or for the better man of the world. So the only thing is I think sometimes I need to share with you about sometimes when you work for a full-time job, and sometimes you want to have a transition period of time, but sometimes it is about the determination, whether you trust yourself as well before your clients trust your products. So I think if you trust yourself, then you will go for that. That is my sharing. Yeah.
For me, I think my romantic story with Frederick is already a good one. First of all, I know what I want to do, and then I save some money. I get my partner so that I can share some risk with him, right? Just kidding. But you need to do a lot of calculations about your time cost and the actual money cost. After that, and then take a deep breath and go ahead. No U-turn. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So, probably you may say that I'm biased, but I always believe that entrepreneurial, kind of initiatives could well be your first job, after your graduations. And I believe that large companies, would love to have people that have this kind of experience. Even at the end of the day, you finally decided that entrepreneurial is not your cup of tea, and you want to get a job. I mean, there's so many out there that are looking for people like this with entrepreneurial spirit inside large corporations. And with that, I think it's time's up. And I would like to take this chance, to thank all the panelists for their insightful sharing. Thank you very much. Thank you.